Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of Dynasty Six Pack at your regularly scheduled time. And we will have our regularly scheduled intro music. As mentioned off the top, it's episode 19, a special episode of Dynasty Six Pack, mostly because we'll actually not be talking a lot about Dynasty this particular episode. But I'm Kyle Senra, joined by one of my co-hosts, Jamie Perog. How are you doing, Jamie?
Doing great. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Another episode of the Dynasty Six Pack. But like Kyle said, we're not going to be talking much Dynasty. We're going to be breaking down some Scott Fish Bowl action and diving into some other charity tournaments. So let's introduce our guest and let's get into it.
Certainly no charity. Someone well-deserved to be the first guest we've ever had in show history. I mean, again, only episode 19, a young show. But welcome, Steve Lawson, as our first guest on podcast history. How are you doing, Steve?
I'm great. Oh man, I didn't know I was your first guest. There's a lot of pressure on me to set the tone, I feel like now. So I better do a good job.
Didn't want to put too much pressure on you, and then I said it live while everyone could see it. So there you go. There's the pressure. But
yeah.
So why don't you tell us like where people can find you, like what other podcasts you're working on?
Sure. Yeah. So you can follow me on Twitter at the little handle down there. But I work over at In Between Media. I do their fantasy football content a lot. I do a lot of their entertainment stuff. I lead their entertainment division over there. I am a co-host on the IBT Fantasy Football Podcast. I am the host of the Popcorn and Root Beer Entertainment Betting Show. I'll yap. If you put a microphone in front of my face, I'm going to yap. So I'm excited to be here and be talking fantasy football with you guys.
Yeah, so thank you, Steve, for joining us. And so I guess before we get to talking about the Charity League, just a couple of promos that we have. And first off, why don't you check out the Fantasy Six Pack website? There's lots of great articles, a lot of fantasy football redraft content now, but of course, all sorts of different sports. I think that's the Joe's secret that he hasn't told anyone. He might not even know. It's just that we represent 6 different sports. We just figure out which is going to be the 6th one, but there's a lot of fancy baseball articles there as well. But yeah, certainly the fantasy football content is hitting fast and heavy at Fantasy Six Pack. And while there are articles on the website that anyone can access, there's also the All Access membership, paid membership at F6P. That gives you tons of great resources for a lot of different sports, a lot of different components. There's some DFS sheets, I think, that are involved in that as well. So to get all access, there's a typical price, but Joe's running a promotion right now, a special price using the promo code F6P-PODS, F6P-PODS, all letters capitalized, and the 6 is the number 6. So yeah, F6P-PODS to get that special promo code price for that Fantasy Six Pack All Access membership. Fantasy Six Pack is also proud to announce a partnership with Fantrax. You can head to fantrax.com/fantasy six pack in order to get all the details to that. But yeah, Fantrax, great place to play fantasy football and as well as other sports, and Fantasy Six Pack, all about the different avenues. And the All Access membership also gets you advanced placement or different features on the Fantasy Six Pack Discord as well. So we've got the website, fantasy6pack.com, got the Fantasy Six Pack Discord, and of course, this YouTube channel. So for those watching the video, the Fantasy Six Pack YouTube page, be sure to subscribe, like the videos. There's tons of great content that'll come through. And for those listening on audio form only, also subscribe where you can to your podcast platforms. Really appreciate that. And really appreciate anyone who wants to join us right now live in the comments again on the YouTube or Facebook pages for Fantasy Six Pack. We've got this random guy, Jamie Perog, who always shows up in the chat conveniently at the same time as Jamie Perog on screen. I guess Jamie.
He's a weird
Steve.
one, man.
Well, not weird one. I'm pretty weird too. So, but Steve, apparently Jamie has seen Steve on the In Between Media podcast. I don't know why I say apparently. We know that Jamie watches everything. So
He does.
Great.
He comes and hangs out quite a bit, actually. So always, again, thankful for the support Jamie's thrown my way on every show I'm on, it seems like. So
Support and or shade for hot dog takes, perhaps.
yeah. So that's a reference to the popcorn and root beer show we did this past week. And I do not really eat hot dogs. I'm not a big hot dog fan. I just think they're kind of gross. I've seen how they're made, and it grossed me out like really bad. So we were talking about like the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, and I was just like, I cannot believe someone's gonna shove like 70 hot dogs and wet buns down their throat. It was just nasty to think about. It's a disgusting, awful display for America. I cannot believe we put that on national TV.
Yeah, that's crazy. I only eat the all beef hot dogs, so I like to think it's a little bit healthier.
That's what people try to tell me, and I'm like, listen, I can't imagine that like with like pork, they're like, yeah, let's make it as nasty as possible, and then like they switch to beef, and they're like, nah, this is like quality. I just imagine it's the same idea, just with cows and pigs.
Good stuff, man.
Pretty sure there was a South Park episode where everyone attacked the cows and chicken, or they want everyone to attack the cows and chicken. I don't know. There's
Oh yeah, because they're the
redoing World War history there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no need to mention that. There's lots more pressing topics to talk about than hot dogs. Well, it's kind of the fantasy football redraft months. These are the next couple months where redraft drafts are happening a lot of times. I mean, yes, they can have some happen kind of throughout really as soon as the Super Bowl is done, really sometimes even before that. Heck, it never stops. Even in the season, people are still having drafts. But this is when the majority of redrafts happen. So it's kind of a clicking moment for a lot of people. I know for us at Dynasty Six Pack and those who play a lot of Dynasty, the arrival of these charity leagues that tend to happen a lot in the summer really signals the time to transition from strictly Dynasty to mix of Dynasty and redraft. So, Jamie, before we specifically introduce one charity league, well, we're going to talk about several charity leagues. We're going to talk about one in particular right now, but something you want to say just about charity leagues in general?
Yeah, it's for a great cause. They don't make you donate, right? But it's always good to donate to the charity. It's going to help other people out that are in need. So I just recommend getting involved in as many as you can every year.
So fantasy football leagues where the entry fees, sometimes the entirety of the entry fees, if there are any, will go to charity. As Jamie mentioned, others, it's donate what you can. You have stuff like the Scott Fishbowl where donations through merchandise, for instance, is a big thing. So anything you're doing to participate by helps out. But the truth is, any league could be a charity league in theory. Like even your home fantasy football league. I know Scott Fish has always mentioned this. Just take one buy-in and donate that to charity, and you can be whatever charity you choose. More pressing that year, you can have competitions where the league winner gets to decide what charity it goes to the following year. Do things like that.
Yeah,
any league could, in theory, be a charity league, but because
like I know
football. Sorry, Dan, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, like all the leagues that I'm in, people are donating to me when I win the league, so I consider that charity to me. I appreciate everyone that join and donate.
Thank you for being so generous, folks, in Jamie's leagues. But fantasy football is super fun. We love to win, and if by having these fun leagues and fun drafts, we can also contribute to good causes. It gives us the fun of fantasy football, and doing something for fun makes it worth it. But then B, we're contributing to make the world a better place through fantasy football. And Steve, that's exactly what you wanted to do by creating the Rainbow Bowl.
Yeah, I am. I was such a fan of what Scott Fish did and what so many of these other charity leagues did that, I grew my account on Twitter mainly through just being open and transparent about the fact that I am a gay man in the fantasy football space. And that's not a typical, that's not the space you usually see like gay men in. It's just not something that's all that common. Not that it doesn't exist and not that I'm the only one, but I certainly found my niche in that way. And I know that for me, growing up, fantasy football was kind of an interesting I had an interesting relationship with it where I used it a lot as like a mask before I was ready to come out about like just keeping myself like in the closet. It was something that seemed straight, acting enough that no one would question because I loved like I started it because I was just like whatever, it's something to do, and then I really fell in love with it. So I started the Rainbow Bowl to kind of bridge the two, right? That to show that like you can be queer and you can be a fantasy football fan, and those two can live in harmony. And um, as far as good causes, mine has been the Trevor Project. This is our second year running the Rainbow Bowl. We raise money and it goes directly to the Trevor Project. Every dollar donated goes right there. Because the goal is always, for me at least, with everything I do for my community in terms of the LGBT community, it's to see queer kids become queer adults, right? Like we need to make sure that these kids are safe and have resources and can, talk to someone when things get hard, because a lot of people don't understand how hard it can be just going through that and finding yourself and finding your space and finding safety in the world. So it was really important to me personally to try to give back in some way.
That's amazing. Yeah, because it is tough, like especially if you grew up in the '90s and like early 2000s. Like my
Mm,
brother, he was gay all his life, and he didn't come out until he was almost 30.
yeah, likewise.
Yeah, so it's just amazing, and if he had the support that you give back in the '90s and early 2000s, it could have been a whole nother life he could have lived.
It's sad that like I mean I came out at 28. I mean, and I'm 31. So it's not like I've been out for all that long, you know what I mean? So in a lot of ways, I'm still finding my footing in what who I am and who I want to be in life. And it's so hard. And I feel so bad for people who feel like they can't just be themselves, because I'll tell you, like after coming out, it was the best thing I've ever done. And I have an amazing boyfriend now, and I'm so much happier, just a better person. I feel like overall, now that I'm not like hiding who I am, I don't have that weight anymore, and it's hard. Like we all remember being teenagers, and whether you're gay, straight, bi, doesn't matter, right? Being a teenager sucks. Like just in general, it's really difficult. So to add that on top of it is pretty brutal. And I just want to make sure that kids don't have to deal with I want to help in any way I can.
Yeah, so tell the audience on how they could join the league and like the format and what it's all about. It's
Yeah. So you can join the league. So there's a sign up sheet. You can find it. The link's in my bio on Twitter. I also frequently share it out. You can also follow the Rainbow Bowl. That's the handle on Twitter. And the sign up is there as well. We have well over 200 signups right now. Not everyone gets in. I'll be perfectly honest, because there's only a certain, I have to like keep it manageable at least right now. But like that's how you sign up. And this year we did something different. Every year I try to change it up. I try to do something different. I try to keep it fresh. So whether that's just the theme of it or the scoring. So I've switched both this year. We're doing like horror icons. So whatever division you're in is named after some spooky character. But this year I went with a format that I called it roster fluid. And there is no requirement. It is 8 flexes, 1 super flex, and 8 bench positions. It's a shallow league, but I do run waivers as well. There's big play bonuses this year. There's tight end premium this year. There's a lot of like moving parts, because I just want it to be I wanted you to be able to construct your roster any way you wanted to. If you wanted to roll 8 tight ends out there, go for it. If you wanted to roll 8 running backs out there, go for it. The only thing you can't do is roll 8 quarterbacks out there, but there was really I guess maybe, you know what? Maybe I'll do that next time. Just go 8 super flex positions and just see what happens. But yeah, that's kind of how I approached it. And I just want it to be as fun as possible. And last year we had 144 players. And this year we're looking at a little more than that. So probably 2 or 3 more divisions on top of that. So probably 36 more players, maybe. So 180
wow.
possibly. this season. So that could be really cool.
That's great. So I joined it. I'm in the Candyman division.
Nice.
And that
Sweet.
movie made me extremely afraid of bees. So I named my team Be Very Afraid, because I'm going to be coming for you guys in this. Man, I'm going to try to win this whole thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of like people have gotten really creative with names throughout every division. I've been seeing like people changing their names and getting real creative with it. And it's always cool to see. And like there's merch available. We also did that. We sold a bunch of shirts just to go toward the charity as well. Everything's for charity with Rainbow Bowl. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's awesome. So like this is the Rainbow Bowl, where the only thing straighter than the goalpost is, well, definitely not this league. But
True.
the way I discovered this league. So this is how I discovered it. I run a Facebook group I help set up for the LGBTQ community. A friend of mine, she asked me to help set up a group for her, so she can make people in the community just come together. So like someone posted it in there, and I joined because I support like his cause. I support charities, and so I got invited. I mentioned in chat, I was like, "Hey, Commissioner, why don't you join my Facebook groups? We got 50,000 people in this one. We got 100K in this one. You just post it, make people aware." So he joined the group, and it was Steve Lawson. I'm like, this name is so familiar. Like, where do I know this from? A couple days later, I turned on a podcast, and it was In Between Media, and I saw Steve's name. I'm like, that's where I know it clicked, right? So I noticed, and it was just so cool just having that connection. And then let's see, we needed a guest for a show this week, and I went to Kyle and I said, "Hey, I could get us a guest," and messaged you. And then I told Kyle who it was, and Kyle instantly was like, "Oh, I know Steve. Like, we're in a league together." So it's just fun, like how everything comes full circle. Like some might call it a coincidence, like I call it fate, or it could be like the fantasy guys just conspiring to bring people together.
Yeah,
Fantasy
it's amazing. It's hard. It's funny how many people like you bump into in this space, right? And you just kind of like you just know each other because you're joining enough leagues or you're in whatever together. And yeah, I mean, Kyle and I are in a league that, I mean, what are the odds of us being in that league together? It's not like it's a super deep league or a super common league to be a part of. So that's kind of funny that we're in a contract league together. So which is my favorite format, by the way. That actually is my favorite format.
Kyle's favorite format. We did the last 2 episodes dedicated to that format.
It is by far my favorite format.
And just talking about the format of Rainbow Bowl, I imagine it's 12-team leagues, and that's what it tends to be. A lot of these multiple copies of 12-team leagues together in one giant league.
Yeah, so it's 12-team best ball. And your win-loss record doesn't matter. It's all points for. So it's however many points you score. I keep track of it. I update the standings every week, and I put them out for everybody to see. And the top, I think I have it as the top 45% make the playoffs, and then it's winner take all from there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I imagine you wouldn't know this, but do we know when the playoffs will start?
Yes, I start them week 14. After the bye weeks, always after bye weeks.
That's smart. So I noticed it's a start 10. So you have 7 flexes and or is it 8 flexes?
It's 8. I think it's 8 flexes and 1 super flex. Yeah, so I think it's 9.
No, I see 2 super flexes.
Oh, 2 super flexes.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, you're right.
So start 10, and then you got 8 bench spots.
Yep.
Anything like next year, maybe make it a little bit deeper? Would you consider 10 flex spots or 10 benches? Because I love going deep.
Yes. So that is something that I was asked about last year because it was also a shallow bench last year. And it actually, I feel like it sets us apart a little bit because it makes the waivers so much better every week and more important because you're not seeing like the 8th guy on the depth chart on the waivers. It's kind of like the little wrinkle I like to add to this particular tournament.
So
Maybe
it's his best
may,
ball, right?
it is best ball, so
With
it's
waivers.
with waivers.
Okay, that's fun. Okay, I didn't
Yeah,
realize there were waivers in this league.
it gets crazy, and it's fab bidding, so it gets wild, and people like you're not the first person to be like, wait a minute, it's best ball and you have waivers. I'm like, that's right, because I keep that bench shallow.
So it's
I mean,
not
it's not
just
even that-
Dynasty best ball, Jamie, that has waivers, which is Jamie's favorite format.
Yeah.
Dynasty.
So I love playing best ball with waivers, and this makes sense because there's 216 players off the board, and it gives you an opportunity to go deeper because usually it's like 250 off the board when I play best ball because I have like 10, 12 bench spots.
Yep.
But yeah, with the waivers, this is awesome with the top 216 off the board, and it allows you to some kind of a game plan every week, like we talked about in my my favorite format, best ball dynasty.
It definitely it creates so many different combinations that you see people playing. It's so fun to watch, like, because I obviously, having started all the leagues, I get all the notifications, so I get to like fly through everything and see what people are doing at any point throughout the season, and it's always so funny to watch people who get dropped, people get added, and I'm just like, because it's a more shallow bench, you're like, wow, I can't believe they drop that guy. But they had to, right? They're like, hey, I need a quarterback this week. I'm short on spots, so in they come.
Yeah, I see all the quarterbacks off the board, but it's going to be interesting when those quarterbacks start getting hurt and how much people are going to bid on the backup guys like Jacoby Brissett and Tyrod Taylor, people like that.
Yeah, and that's what happened last year as well. So it was super cool. It was super fun.
Yeah, and of course, I'm going to try to get like a DeAndre Swift in this, and then backfill my bench with a Roschon Johnson, and then I'm just going to get all those running back points from Ben Johnson.
I was going to say, interesting strategy to take the backup first and then the starter later, right, Jamie?
Exactly, because Roschon goes so late, even though he's going to be the main guy and the better running back in that offense.
But
Roschon Johnson?
Well, okay, so
that's Jamie's joke.
Yeah, I'm a huge Roschon fan. I even got like a jersey that I customized right there, Roschon.
That's
love the guy, man. I think he's completely underrated, and especially now with Ben Johnson in the backfield, people are completely ignoring him.
You know what? Everyone has that guy, right? Like, you got to have someone, and everyone has to have their favorite player and then their favorite kind of bad player.
Yes,
I think.
Yeah.
Like, for the longest time, like I think for the longest time, I was like the biggest Delaney Walker like fan going. Like,
he's actually good though, so that's good. That's good.
But like, I liked him since he was a 49er. Like, I was just always drafting Delaney Walker, and I would have him every year.
That's fair. Yeah, 49ers wasn't Walker wasn't much fantasy relevance there.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
Because I was thinking like the other 49ers player, Jermichael Hasty or Evan Hull. Like those have been like my favorite players, and they just do nothing at all. So at least Walker gave you some good fantasy production.
He did. After a while, it paid off. I was pretty.
It took a couple teams.
It did. It took a while.
Oh, Parlay FF podcast, another great show here on the Fantasy Six Pack Network, Fantasy Six Pack YouTube page. Swift baby, Jamie was all over me yesterday on the Swift take. That's right. Remember they did their running back draft episode, their running back rankings through draft. But it's cool concept that the Parlay FF doing. They're doing dynasty rankings, and the three of them plus the auto draft are drafting. It's like a 4-team league to go through the rankings at each position. So quarterback and running back episodes have been completed, and believe they're doing wide receiver next week. So check out the Parlay FF podcast for sure. But yeah, Jamie was Jamie was of course in the comments, chatting and supporting as always, and blaring out how Roschon went undrafted and it was a travesty, it was a crime against humanity, or let's not undersell it, Jamie.
Yeah, I just want to say Roschon Johnson, he was top 10 in fantasy points per opportunity, right? Give him more opportunity, more fantasy points. He also faced the number one stacked boxes in the whole league at 6.8. So come on, man. He's gonna be great.
I think, yeah. I mean, he could be. I'd be surprised, but he could be.
Yeah. It's just the fact that like the regime that drafted him, they wasted his time the first 2 years. Now you actually have a coach that can coach him up. The Bears obviously love him because they didn't really draft anyone early enough to replace him. So I think he's going to be a sneaky player this year.
I think he could. I think the issue I have with Roschon Johnson is that I always say this about running backs, and you've seen me on the IBT podcast, but I don't know how closely you pay attention to my analysis. But when it comes to running backs, I am always weary of guys who aren't fast enough at the second level. That is where I usually kind of go away from guys. And I've always been that way. That's why I was kind of out on Clyde Edwards-Helaire for a long time. I'm out on a lot of running backs that kind of came out even in this draft. It makes me weary of guys when they're slower at that second level. If you can't outrun the linebackers now, because linebackers are running for like high 4.4s, low 4.5s now, you have to be able to break away. Breakaway speed is more important than ever now. And Roschon, that is his issue. It's not a vision issue. It's not an ability issue. It's just his straight line speed isn't there. And that's what I worry about with Roschon. So I think he could be a good goal line back, though. I think he could really pull that role. But I think Swift is going to be there between the 20s guy because he can catch it.
So like even coming out of college, like Roschon had like a similar stat to Bijan with like contact after or yards after contact.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's why I think he's going to be a great goal line guy. He can block, he can catch. So use him more in a passing game if you need to.
Yeah, because sorry, go ahead, Steve.
No, it's super. It's so much fun to try to project what is going to happen with these guys, but I do think Roschon Johnson is that sneaky kind of guy. I am definitely taking him at the late part of drafts. I've taken him a few times actually, and he's on a lot of my dynasty teams because you never know. Like that surefire like 4 yards he gives you every carry might be worth more than Swift, who's 1 yard, -2 yards, and then 12. You know what I mean? It's kind of a little bit more consistent, and I think the Bears might look at that more positively than what Swift brings.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Roschon's best comparable player on Player Profiler, it's Josh Jacobs, right? So when he got the opportunity, he smashed. So I don't know.
Well, Josh Jacobs has always had the opportunity. He's never not had the opportunity.
Yeah, true. So I think when Roschon, if he does get the opportunity, I think he can put up similar numbers. But you said you have a good amount of him in Dynasty. I think at one point I had 12 shares of him.
Wow, that is a lot.
We did. Well, I have 27 Dynasty teams, so.
Oh yeah,
I'm surprised it's not 27 shares.
So 2 weeks ago, I sold him in the middle of one of my drafts. Someone sent me an offer for Roschon for the 312 and the 412, and I was like, oh, let me think about this. We're 2 picks away. Let me see who falls. Dylan Sampson fell, and I love Dylan Sampson. So I ended up making the trade, right? And I think it's a great trade. Get Dylan Sampson and Gaston for Roschon Johnson. Because I like Dylan Sampson over Roschon. I know you can't believe it, but yeah, that is. So as soon as I hit accept, I shit you not, my phone glitched and started going crazy. And I swear, like aliens just contacted me telepathically, asked me if I was all right. And then I restarted
Jamie
my phone.
traded away Roschon. He must have been hacked. Something's wrong.
Yeah, I swear something was going on. And I literally restarted my phone. Everything came back up. And then I got a call from Roschon's mom. She broke up with me. She was like, oh my God, like, I can't believe you sold Roschon. Like, but she said it wasn't me. It was my running back rankings. So I felt a little bit better that, I'm still a good guy. It's just my running back rankings were off.
Apparently, Fantasy Dog was concerned about you. It was Fantasy Dog.
It was Fantasy Dog. You know who I'm like that with? This is an actual player that's not productive right now. Is like Johnny Wilson. I'm big on Johnny Wilson.
Okay.
But that's because I'm a homer. Yeah. I am a homer. At heart, I will always root for my Seminoles. So.
Okay, college homer. I didn't know you were an Eagles fan. Okay.
No.
College homer. Okay.
I proudly do not have an NFL team that I root for. I root for my fantasy team.
To be fair, your shirt
Yeah.
color does look like the Florida State color a little bit. Oh, it is a Florida. That's
Nice.
why it looks like that color, because it is a Florida State shirt.
It is a
Mike was
Florida
hiding.
State. It's
Okay.
a Florida State shirt.
I thought I was
That's where I
being
went to
clever.
college.
Right.
Yeah, I went to college at Florida State.
Okay.
So
yeah. If you're invested all that time and money into that school, then you
right.
I'm very
Like,
cheered for them. Yeah.
you know, it's funny. I had to choose between some pretty big schools when I was deciding where to go after my freshman year. I transferred, and it was Ohio State, LSU, or Florida State, and Florida State won out. So,
Did you do the hat ceremony as well?
I did but just for myself. I didn't really have fans because I was a now retired mediocre college baseball player. So
okay, that's better than me. That's not a high bar, but apparently Fantasy Dog is a Buckeyes fan. So
I'm a Buckeyes fan. Hell yeah, I knew I loved you, Fancy Dog.
oh boy,
yeah, I come from a family. I come from a family of Buckeye fans. So
your family's awesome.
yeah, they all think I'm a big traitor because like my dad used to be the biggest Ohio State Buckeyes fan like I've ever met, and we live in Boston. And he knew the third string right guard's mom's name. I mean, he was the biggest Buckeye fan I've ever seen in my life. I went to Florida State for one day, and he was the biggest Florida State fan in the country. And that's how he is now.
Well, I guess it would have been nice to be an Ohio State fan this year. Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
I guess nice to be a fan of Roschon Johnson, Jamie. And if he's so cheap, you can get him in every league. That being said, Steve, I expect when you're looking through all the Rainbow Bowl drafts, Roschon will be drafted highest, probably in Jamie's division by Jamie.
I would assume so. I am launching all the drafts on August 2nd, at least all the ones that like are formed before August 2nd, right? But yeah, August 2nd, I expect to see Roschon Johnson's name get called fairly early in Candyman division.
Yeah, at least 112.
The 112 at the latest is what I'm expecting.
Well, and I mean, Jamie will do some things. And is there anything else specifically about Rainbow Bowl that you want to mention, Steve?
No, it's just sign up. I hope everyone who's listening signs up. We're always happy to see you come in. And then, yeah, and if you have any questions or anything like that, you can always reach out on Twitter. I'm always happy to chat.
Excellent. And yeah, his Twitter handle is at Steve_Lawson93. And as Steve mentioned in the bio, that's where you can find the sign-up sheet to join or to apply to join Rainbow.
Yeah.
Okay, so before I guess we continue any further, we've got a listener question here. So sober thoughts. We'll hopefully add more thoughts to this, but would we trade away Nico for Hampton and a 2026 second? Trading away Nico Collins.
Throw in the chat, is it a 10-team, 12-team? How many players you start? Do you start 8? Do you start 12? Is it super flex?
Well, it is super flex, and it says doesn't matter that much, and I can see why they're saying that because there's no quarterback involved. But I would say sober thoughts that it does matter quite a lot because the value of that second round pick is a lot higher in super flex than it is in single quarterbacks.
There's going to be at least 4 or 5 quarterbacks next year going in the first round, so that'll push back other players going in the second.
12 teams start 10 super flex. So
okay,
conventional size, so nothing too shallow, nothing too deep.
Start 10. That's right on that border. So it's
Nico for Hampton in a second.
A second. And who's your other running backs?
Yeah, if you could share the
team construction definitely matters on this. I could answer it in a vacuum, but definitely not like as accurately. My first thought is no. I wouldn't trade Nico.
Fantasy Dog is saying the same thing.
I think we're in lockstep. Achane, Cook, Judkins. No, you don't need Hampton.
No, you don't need Hampton because I love Hampton. You know, I have him pretty high, top 7 already in my running back rankings for Dynasty.
Whoa.
Top 7. I think, isn't he like RB4 for you?
Yeah, you're right. He is RB4. That's Henderson at 7.
Yeah.
4. Yeah.
So he's really high on Hampton. two sober thoughts. As you can see, Jamie really likes Hampton.
So I do like Hampton, but Nico, he's a top 7 to 10 wide receiver, and I'd rather have that wide receiver, especially in a start 10. If it was a start 11, I would maybe lean towards it. If it was an earlier second, but giving up Nico, I'm assuming that the guy's going to compete more, so it'll probably be a mid to late second. So I'm going to say no. You do need more.
Is Hampton and a first considered more? Is that enough?
Oh, Hampton in a first.
That's
probably do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably do that. Here's the issue with I don't love, and maybe this is a hot take on a dynasty show. Anything other than a first, unless you're sending me multiple seconds, I don't want them.
Yeah.
Because I'm usually hoping whoever I draft in the second round turns into whoever I'm trading away. Right. So like, and it's by that point, it's kind of a crapshoot and you don't know what you're getting. There's not really that elite upside. So I'm taking these like kind of dart throws anyway, without any sort of safety that they're going to turn into anything. And Nico Collins is 26 years old and already established as one of the better wide receivers in the NFL over the last 2 years. Now, I know injuries are a concern there, but it's not like that isn't the case for half the league anyway. So I'm leaning toward the established quality guy over the maybe good running back and a second round pick that could end up anywhere. So, yeah, I'm kind of more Nico. You'd need that first round pick with Hampton to get me to move him,
or an already established guy. And so
yeah,
Hampton and another receiver that you can get back that you tear down. But that second is just so unknown. It could be Roman Wilson from last year.
Well,
right.
If you're drafting. Sorry, Jamie.
So
he likes, well, maybe not like as much as Roshan, but drafts him as much. And I think that fear might be represented in Fantasy Dog's comment. Isn't Dynasty, especially when regarding future picks, a different animal now that the name, image, and likeness is involved? College players are more likely to stay longer. Like you say, there's a rumor that Arch Manning's going to stay all 4 years at Texas. Get all that ability. So, less talent coming out every year, devaluing the rookie picks is kind of the risk of it.
So if you're good at receiver and you want to make a trade like this, get a 2027 first, because that class is going to have a lot of good wide receivers coming out. And if you can take the time the next 2 years to deal without that wide receiver because your other people on your roster are good enough, I would probably do Hampton in a 27 first for Nico.
I'd probably stay for 10 million years as well, so I can't blame Manning.
Yeah, I would too.
Now, so I want to connect your thoughts there, JB, but something you were saying, Steve, is that just like the risk of what player you're going to draft in the second round next year. Like, and part of me also almost thinks the picks sometimes, if you can trade them before the pick is made, it almost doesn't matter what it's going to be. But I think that appeals to, I'm trading away an inflexible asset, a player that is tough to move for a draft pick. It's going to be easier to use that draft pick to trade for the player I want than the player I'm giving away. But as you mentioned, Nico Collins is 26, wide receiver, a young coveted position in Dynasty. Like, Nico Collins isn't an inflexible asset. There's a lot of teams, whether they're competing or rebuilding, that will want to trade for Nico Collins. So I like, AJ Brown to try and, this is the time to sell AJ Brown to get picks. That deal, I think, makes a lot more sense to me because AJ Brown is so tough to move, but Nico isn't.
He's very hard to move right now. Yeah. It's because you run into people like me, right? So here's my kind of general rule when I play Dynasty is I don't love to move first round picks until very late in the year. And it's usually because I'm not going to move a first unless I'm kind of going for the championship. Like, I'll move a first if I'm like, hey, this team is there. I'm on a run. I have a shot at this, and I need to solidify this lineup right now and try to get that money, right? Because that's usually what you're trying to do. And in Dynasty, I only play it and I think everyone should take this advice. This would be my blanket advice for Dynasty. Play it 3 years out. People have like these like long-term ideas that like, well, he'll be a useless asset in 6 years. Listen, your league will probably fold before Nico Collins is out of the NFL. So don't play for when Nico's old. Play for the next 3 years in Dynasty. That's what you need to think of, because that's about how long a rebuild takes too. So play 3 years at a time, but keep those firsts in your pocket, because I wouldn't trade a first with Hampton for Nico, because if I got Hampton, I probably wasn't very good this year either. Right. So like I'm assuming I'm not gonna be that good next year. It's tough to move these are the trades that really break down. And I would wait till later in the year, see where you're at as a team, and then decide if you want to move Nico.
Like looking at Achane and Cook, those two seem like much less flexible assets. I mean, it's probably going to be so tough to move James Cook right now.
Cook's almost a move. Like everyone's offering like a second for James Cook because of his contract.
It'll be probably easier to sell him once the season starts going. He's scoring points. If he's producing touchdowns, not quite to last year's rate, but higher than he had been the first 2 years, that's the avenue to sell Cook. So if there's a bit of patience and you want to recoup like extra draft picks in the future, you can do that. But yeah, the idea of Hampton in a first might make it work. Like that might be something you could do now, but is there a rush to do that right now? Right? Like, is that something you could still get done in season anyway?
Yeah, I think if you're trading Nico, you want to pull that trigger on getting Hampton in a first right now. If you're the person who's trading away Hampton in a first, you're probably sitting on it, right? Like, because that feels like a bit of an overpay considering Hampton's value, because you could turn Hampton around for 2 firsts. So now you're getting 3 first-round picks, and I know that because I did it. You could get 3 first-round picks for Nico Collins, essentially, and you're like, that's a lot. So it's a tricky little situation.
So sober thoughts. Hopefully we helped clarify your thoughts there on this Nico Collins Martin Hampton trade. I do want to kind of look at this comment that
was crazy. That's crazy.
Having Hampton ahead of Genty and mentioning that the conferences matter. You do have 2 running backs, first round picks. I would,
wait, conferences matter. I was like, maybe they meant divisions, but they're in the same conference and they're in the same division, right?
Oh, they're definitely in this. Yeah, they're in the same division. They're both in the AFC West.
Yeah,
I would say the Chargers are better.
Oh, they're talking about it. All right, they're talking about college football conferences, I think.
That's okay too, because I think that was the thing with Genty, right? With Boise State was I think it's the Mountain West, so it's not even a power.
Yeah, they're like a group of 5 or whatever it is.
And I think Hampton, North Carolina.
He was at the ACC. Yeah, he was an ACC guy.
So at least a Power 5 conference. So it's a step up. It's not the SEC necessarily, but that justification. It's not the first time I've heard that being a kind of a criticism of Genty. It's not the first person I've heard have this take. There's only one other person that has. It's Murph, the guy responsible for 5-yard rush. He's fantastic. He does a lot of great work, and he's been steadily, even before the NFL draft, and seemed to continue of Hampton ahead of Genty. So you're not the only one, sober thoughts. And I suppose it's too bad you don't have Genty to trade for Marion Hampton and a haul on top. And I suppose maybe is Nico Collins that version of that trade in your mind. You're trying to make it happen. So this is especially to get this specific player that you really want. Yeah, try and see if Hampton in a first. If you could sell Collins for that might make it worth it.
That high on him. Go get him.
Extra draft capital for next year. That could be A, you use it next year, or B, you trade it in season if you're competitive, and B, you get a player you really like in Hampton. So. But Jamie, I was gonna go to you before we start talking about the Scott Fish Bowl. We've talked Rainbow Bowl. You mentioned you signed up for that, and you're in quite a lot of charity leagues. So were there a couple others that you wanted to shout out and highlight and showcase right now?
Yeah, one is called the Super League. It's one of the coolest charity leagues. It's running right now. It's created by the Fantasy Now Plus podcast. It's a multi-league best ball tournament similar to the Rainbow Bowl, hosted on Sleeper, and it's also for a good cause. Let's see, every entry benefits Extra Life, supporting Children's Miracle Network hospitals. Right now, there's 11 leagues of 12 teams. and they're still accepting applications up until this Friday night. So in the next 2 days, if you hear this, go sign up at Fantasy Now Plus. What makes this league unique is it's best ball with a twist, right? Just like the Rainbow Bowl. Like once you're in, it's best ball. There's no team management, but you also get to use the waivers. So I love that. If you want in, here's what you got to do. Go to fantasynowplus.com. After registering, check your email, log in, and then you get to pick your draft spot. Then keep an eye out for your sleeper league invite, and you're good to go. It's going to be competitive. It's community driven, and best of all, it's for the kids. So I love Super League.
Love that.
Yes.
Super good cause. Hospitals.
Super great cause, man.
Taking care is definitely important.
Yeah. So I am in. What was funny because when I joined it, I was the first one in my division. I'm in Captain Malcolm Reynolds. They're having a theme of captains. So like Captain Malcolm Reynolds is from Firefly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew I recognized the name. I couldn't place it.
Nathan Fillion's character,
Nathan
right?
Fillion, yes, yep. Awesome. I love Nathan Fillion. I think he was the Green Lantern's voice back in the cartoon era of Marvel.
I remember seeing some DC stuff.
I think he's playing him in the new Superman, isn't he?
I don't know. Good question.
Ooh, I think I remember seeing that.
Ooh, I didn't know that. That's inside scoop from Steve.
So it's funny. So like I joined this league, and then I saw a notification someone else joined, and I looked, and it was this girl America who's connected with the Going for Two. We did a league together last year, and then a day later, Father Dynasty popped in, and I'm like, that's my co-host on the Monday night show I do. It's True Russell, also part of the Going for Two family. So it's funny that we all connected, and now we're in the same league.
Yeah, without like just by happenstance, you all happened to join that one. So people love Firefly. That's great.
Yep. So in this one, though, it's start 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, tight end, 3 flexes, and a super flex, and then we get to start a kicker. Yay! Everyone loves kickers, especially at Going for Two.
But we're fantasy 6-pack, and actually that's 2 field goals, but
yeah.
Touchdowns and going for 2 opportunities we prefer, but of course Super League would be super flex, like you'd have to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and then what's awesome about this league is it also includes waivers in the best ball format, but there's going to be a twist. We don't know it yet until after the draft. They're going to implement some kind of a rule that we don't know about. I heard it doesn't affect the way we're going to draft, but they're not telling us quite yet until after the draft, so we don't collude with each other during the draft. So I'm interested to see what this rule is. I can't wait.
I got to tell you, coming up with rules for these leagues is always fun because I thought about putting kickers as available, but you'd only get points if they kicked like a 60-yarder or more, but it would be like 40 points.
Interesting.
It's like a total boom bust player, but yeah,
like it's a boom bust play, and like they either score 0 or they score 40.
So that's
or 80 if they kick 2 60-yarders in the same game.
Yeah, right.
So right now there's 12 leagues of 12 people, and it's just going to be the tournament style draft. I love that kind of thing. And Children's Hospital, come on, man. Why wouldn't you want to donate to the Children's Hospital?
As a nurse, I am very grateful to anyone who raises money for the kiddos, in especially children's hospitals. So
awesome. Go to Fantasy Now Plus and put in your application because they're accepting them up until Friday night. So you got 2 more days.
Thank you, Jamie, for introducing us to Super Leagues here. Did you say there was a second charity league you wanted to highlight?
There is. This one, I just found out about it. This is awesome. So it's Battle of the Sexes. It's another
bots. Love it.
Yes, bots. It's another best ball tournament. Donations are optional. Prizes
Mhm.
include an entry to Scott Fishbowl entry the following year, signed jerseys, custom championship ring from Trophy Smack. So this is fun. So here's the story behind Battle of the Sexes. Like back during Scott Fishbowl 12, Wendy, I think it's Wendy Early. She was chatting with others in one of the group chat threads for Scott Fishbowl. And there was the idea of the Battle of the Sexes style type fantasy league. And it started to take shape at that time. So when she and other managers from the chat ended up in a dynasty league together. And during that time, they talked about how there weren't enough opportunities to play against women in fantasy football. So that sparked the idea to create a tournament that would raise money for great causes, but with a twist. Like each division would be evenly split, 6 men, 6 women. The goal was to create a fun, competitive space while also encouraging more women to get involved, especially those who've never played fantasy football before. So
in order to get the numbers 50-50, you'd have to have so many women sign up.
Yeah. So in year 1, the tournament got a huge boost when Howard Bender, we all love Howard Bender, he featured it on one of his radio shows, helping to get the word out and like giving the league some serious momentum to build on. Like over the last 3 years, they've raised almost $18,000 for 3 incredible organizations: Living Beyond Breast Cancer, Zero Prostate Cancer Foundation, and Play Like a Girl. And this year, the tournament's bigger than ever. 336 players total, including an amazing 168 women. It's grown into something really special, and it's all about the community competition and giving back. So if you're interested in joining the Battle of the Sexes, go to Twitter at FF_Battle OTS. That's the Twitter handle. Or you can just search Battle of the Sexes and it should pop up. So those playing who donate can win a signed Sam Laporta jersey as well as limited edition print of Patrick Mahomes created by an artist in Kansas City. So that's awesome.
That's cool. That's super cool.
Yeah, that is pretty sweet.
Yeah, so I joined that. And also, again, once I joined it, more people kept popping in. And I kept recognizing these names. Sal Lito, the guy that did this potathon. 3 hours after he woke up after doing 24 straight hours, he joined. And I saw his name. I'm like, Sal, did you just wake up? He was like, oh, I was up for about 3 hours. I had to go to work. Sal's awesome. So it's great being in a league with Sal Lito.
Sal's incredible. Another guy who's played at RSO leagues before. Gotta love Sal.
Yeah, so I'm in the Hill versus McGraw division. So I'm assuming that's Lauren Hill and Tim McGraw.
I believe it's Faith Hill and Tim McGraw. They are married. So
they are married. Awesome.
They are.
That's funny because
Lauren Hill and Tim McGraw would be quite a duo, though.
Lauren Hill would be a crazy person to face off with Tim McGraw. Is Faith Hill still married to Tim McGraw? Or are they divorced?
I don't know.
I need to
Good
look.
Question.
The in-between media and pop culture guy, of course.
She's still married to Tim McGraw. She's still married. Okay, I was right.
So another guy that hopped in was Nate Markham. And that name sounded so familiar. And I asked my buddy Steve Hungarter at IDP Hunter. And he's like, yeah, he's done shows with our new guy over at RPO, Mace Riney. So we have the connection there. But then a day later, his wife joined. So
Love that.
Whose wife?
Nate's
awesome. Wife or Mason?
Nate Markham.
Nate Markham. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So there's a
of course, Battle of the Sexes evenly distributed. That's amazing. So yeah.
So I love the idea of it, playing against women, getting women more involved in fantasy football, and it's for a great cause, especially like the breast cancer and everything. I love it.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
One league I wanted to shout out was Polly's Playoff, which is.
I love Polly's Playoff.
Yeah,
never joined, but
that's a great one too.
So Shane Barrett is the organizer here, someone we know as a going for two contributor. So that's where JV and I interacted with Shane a ton, and he's been doing this for several years now. And Polly is the name of his wife's grandmother, I believe, and she suffered from Alzheimer's. So it's the funds from Polly's playoff goes towards the Alzheimer's Association. So I know that Shane's been working hard on that every year. I think this might be year 5 of Polly's playoff. So
Wow.
you can follow Shane on Twitter at FFShaneB. And in his profile, there is a link to Polly's playoff. Just like you with the Rainbow Bowl, Steve. Shane did create a Polly's playoff page on Twitter, so that's at Polly's playoff. No apostrophe. POLLYSPLAYOFF. Polly's playoff. And then in the bio for the Polly's playoff account is the website where you can sign up, you can donate. I know that we haven't drafted yet. I don't even think divisions have been assigned, so we're still a ways away. So he's still accepting donations and he's still accepting applications. So Polly's playoff, just one other charity league we wanted to shout out.
Love that.
That's awesome. And there's another one that I joined. It was called JTT Cup.
Yep.
Murph from
yes.
Red Rush. Yeah.
Yes. Unfortunately, I missed it because I kept missing the notifications he was sending to me. And
it's a bummer.
I missed the deadline, but I did it last year. It was a fun league. I'm still going to donate to the cause. I just won't be able to play in it this year. I feel so bad because he even put out a Twitter message saying, does anyone in the community know? And he listed 5 people, and my name was one of them. And I didn't see it until it was too late because I suck at Twitter. Twitter sucks. So
yeah, I don't know if that's your fault. I was gonna say it's the corporate overlords.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little rough.
But we're here to focus on positivity. So positively happy we got to talk about a ton of charity leagues, Rainbow Bowl, Super Bowl,
definitely,
or Super League. Maybe there is a Super Bowl. Who knows? Polly's playoff, Battle of the Sexes, JTT Cup. But there is the mother of all charity leagues, the Scott Fish Bowl.
Yeah.
So yes, all 3 of us are involved. It's I think this year it's over 4,000 managers playing across a variety of different leagues, all with one goal of donating money for Fantasy Cares. And I know Toys for Tots is a big component of where Fantasy Cares puts their money towards. Not the only place. A social justice initiative, I believe, is another big beneficiary, I guess, of Fantasy Cares hard work. But yes, it's a Scott Fish Bowl. Thank you, Scott Fish, for organizing. We're now in year 15, so that's 15 years of
so crazy.
Scott Fish having these charity leagues, and every year it gets more and more intense, more and more crazy, and super fun. This year it's about sports, which is great because we all love sports. We all love fantasy football.
Yeah, definitely. It's such a cool thing that Scott has done, and he is like the godfather of charity leagues, right? Like he's what we all strive to be. It's amazing. I always say I never compete with any other charity leagues, and none of us do, right? Like we're all kind of rooting for each other to make it, and that's what's so amazing about these charity leagues is we all know what we want to be. We all want to be the Scott Fish Bowl because we all want to make a difference in our own communities that mean something to us. But we're all rooting for each other, so we all play in each other's leagues and stuff. It's so amazing, and Scott was gracious enough to donate a spot in Scott Fish Bowl 16 to the winner of Rainbow Bowl as well this year, which was so generous of him. And he's been so generous with like advice for me. We've messaged and I'm just like, hey, like when I have questions about like how to run a charity league, because I've never done it, he was there. And Scott's just an incredible guy who does an incredible thing. And he has truly brought out the best in the fantasy community. I cannot say enough good things about Scott Fish.
Yeah, Scott rocks. I met him last year at the Fantasy Football Expo, and the first time I seen him, I was wearing my custom-made SFB jersey that I created, and he was like, "Awesome, man!" So,
giving them ideas, huh? Jersey merch. That's probably expensive to make, but yes,
nope, not for me because, well, as you know, I get pretty much free jerseys, and I give away free jerseys all the time.
Yeah, that's true. Jamie's got the connections. But yeah, we're all connected in the Scott Fish Bowl, and none of us are in the same divisions, but we're all drafting right now. I think all 3 of us are in slow drafts and either in the 6th or 7th round. So interesting to kind of compare these teams and take a look at things. So, Steve, as the guest, we'll start with you. First off, you can let us know which division you're in, why you chose it, maybe why you chose your draft slot, and then eventually you can talk about your roster so far.
Yeah, so I'm in the Florida State Seminole division, naturally.
No further explanation needed. Just refer to that earlier in the episode.
I am never strategic about where I pick, ever. I just kind of take it as it comes. And so I picked not knowing the scoring because he hadn't released it yet. So when I chose my spot, I picked 5th, which is fine. It let me.
High five.
Are you also 5th?
No, that's just a horrible joke. Sorry.
So when the scoring came out this year, I've said it on a few podcasts now that tight end feels like king for this year's Scott Fish Bowl, because at least on Sleeper, it's 2.5 points per reception with a 1-point tight end kicker on top of that. So I went with Brock Bowers in the first round at the 5th pick. If tight end's king, give me the king of the tight ends. And that's how I started. And then it is super flex, but I avoided the quarterback position for a while. So I went Amon-Ra St. Brown. Then I took Garrett Wilson, who I am very high on this year. I'm big on those Jets this year. Then I got Rashee Rice in the 4th, came around, grabbed Drake May in the 5th, and Justin Herbert in the 6th. And I'm waiting on my 7th pick now.
So you did mention tight end with those extra points, and I love that, especially for the top guys like Bowers, McBride, and I would even put Kittle up in that category. So you get that extra point, right? So you're going to get an extra 6-7 plus PPR bump. But when we get down to like tight end 12, like if you look at last year, that was Jake Ferguson, I believe.
Yep.
You're only looking at like a 3 to 4 point bump in that situation. So it does fall off quickly after those top elite guys. So grabbing one of them elite guys is key in this format.
I agree. I think there's more guys than people realize that are going to be really good this year at tight end for this specific format. Like Evan Ingram, we mentioned him before the show. I was talking him up. David Njoku, big fan of David Njoku this year with the quarterback situation in Cleveland. Joe Flacco targeted him a lot. And then you got to look at guys like, I'm not a huge Tyler Warren believer, but he's a yak machine. And he could be the primary target for Anthony Richardson this season or Daniel Jones, because we know they like to keep it short with Daniel Jones especially. There could be a lot of tight ends that do a lot better than we think this season. Not like sitting here slamming pounding the table saying like draft every tight end you can. But like if you get to those later rounds and David Njoku's available, I think he's a better option given the scoring format than like the wide receiver 40. You know what I mean? Give me the tight end 8 or 9 or 10 over the wide receiver like 30, 40. Like it just feels like the math is there.
Go early for a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown that you expect will catch a lot of passes.
So,
volume is king.
So I'm coming up in 2 picks, and like people on my radar is like Hawkinson or Njoku, right? Over the guys that are available at wide receiver just because of that boost. And I'm kind of leaning towards the tight end, like an Andrews, Njoku, Hawkinson.
Go back to back.
Because I mean, they are going. All 3 of those I just named are going to be the second target in their offense, right?
Absolutely.
So why not? Volume is king. This scoring is based off of volume. So I want all the volume I can get.
Which, I pulled up Jamie's roster on the screen. Thanks for sharing me the link, Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
But with Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara, Chuba Hubbard, you went, okay, just give me 4 running backs that are almost guaranteed, but we expect heavily to get a ton of volume. And then from there, the pass catchers kind of follow through with T. Higgins and Travis Kelce. But you weren't afraid to clearly go 4 running backs right off the bat.
No, not at all, because it is a volume base. And I got 4 guys that are, I believe last year, if you convert last year's finishes to this year's scoring for points per game, Barkley and Taylor were top 12. Kamara was like 5th overall. So I got 3 top 12 scorers. And then Chuba Hubbard and Higgins were both top 20, 25, I believe. And I know people are poo-pooing on Kelsey because he's getting older. He had a down year. But
He's not
even
getting
with-
older. He's already there. He's
No,
old.
but if you
He's
think-
old.
If he's already old,
Every
last
minute.
year he
a
was
minute
still a top 4, top 5 tight end overall, and that's on a down year. He was focusing more on his boyfriend Taylor Swift. This year he is focused on football in the offseason. He even came out and said he's getting in shape. He's focusing more on football. I think this is his last year. He's going to go out with a bang, and he wants to become that elite tight end that we all know him to be. So getting him in the 6th round, I thought that was a steal, especially since he was a top 20 scorer last year in this format on a down year. Steve, I know you have some things to say about that, so I would love to hear your take.
Yeah, so I think he was a top tight end kind of just by attrition. Honestly, he stayed healthy. Other guys didn't. But I saw a stat that he forced 1 missed tackle last year. 1. That's not good. That doesn't indicate that he's getting any faster. He's not any more athletic than he ever has been. And we saw it. I mean, sometimes the numbers don't show what the reality is for a guy. We saw it. If you watch Travis Kelce last season, it wasn't the same. He was slow. He was kind of just there. And I had mentioned before that he kind of came on because the Chiefs were just running out of options. It was Hollywood Brown wasn't in, and then Rashee Rice got hurt, and then Isaiah Pacheco got hurt, and then it was just a mess. And to count on all those guys going down, now you got Hollywood Brown back. Now you have Rashee Rice back, who's a target hog. It kind of spells the end of Travis Kelce's reign of relevance. I would put him closer to the tight end 10 than I would the tight end what looks to be 5.
I wonder what his, because I think Rashee Rice got hurt week 4. So I'd be curious to see if you just took that first month and extrapolated that to a full season, what Kelsey's finish would be, right? And is that with Rice becoming the main target or the first read target in the offense and not Kelsey, is that what we expect to return to this year, or is it I don't know, Worthy also emerging? So it'll be interesting to see for sure.
I don't know. I'm looking at his points, man, and I'm seeing like in this scoring 42, 44, like a bunch of games over 25, another
Over
44.
the first.
So
I guess I can look that up too myself, right?
I'll tell you because I'm looking at it right now. So he was week 1, the tight end 14, then the tight end 46, then the tight end 20.
And then I imagine after that is when
Then he went to
more
tight end
consistently-
5,
Yeah.
went to tight end 5, then tight end 12. Then he was tight end 35, and this is where his season was made. He was tight end 4, 10, 3, bang, bang, bang in a row. Then he was 42, 14, 18, 16, 26, 24, and then 3.
This is a lot less top 12 finishes than I would have thought.
Yeah, so, and I also just made my 7th pick in my draft just now.
Oh, who'd you go with?
I went with
Dun,
Ted
dun,
McMillan.
dun. Ted McMillan, good pick.
Yep, big fan.
Yep.
Big fan.
We've talked a lot of Tedero McMillan.
Well, if you look at the screen, after I made my Kelsey pick, I was hoping Sutton would fall back to me because I was debating Sutton or Kelsey. Tet went right after. He was my other guy I was looking at.
6'11", so yeah, 6th round Tedero McMillan seems like.
So
Yeah, I mean, you said you got him in the 7th, so
yeah,
a bit of a value.
So Johnson went after. So like with the guys I'm looking at, I'm 2 picks away.
yeah. The guy before me took Isaiah Pacheco, so I thought for sure Tedero was going.
So I'm hoping to get Kelvin Ridley because I'd rather have Kelvin Ridley over Tet, honestly, because Tet's a rookie.
Oof.
Don't know. He has a 4-foot quarterback throwing to him, right?
He does, but if
Calvin
Adam
Ridley-
Thielen if Adam Thielen can be fantasy relevant at this point in that offense, I'm pretty confident in Tedero and
Well,
McMillan's ability.
But that was he played more of the slot. Ted's going to be on the outside. So different type of players. I'm just thinking Calvin Ridley with no really good competition. I mean, they brought in undrafted free agent and the catching Canuck, Alec Aomanor. He's still.
I think Calvin Ridley could
peppered.
have a good year. I think he could have a really good year too.
Yes,
I just think people are sleeping on Tedero and McMillan.
People are sleeping on him. Don't get me wrong, but I'd almost rather have Calvin Ridley because he showed us last year he
is a more sure thing.
1,000 yards. Now he's
Absolutely.
got the 101 coming in as his quarterback. What makes you think he's going to downgrade after bringing in a better quarterback and no real competition at targets?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping Calvin Ridley falls to me. If not, I mean, would you guys consider like a TJ Hawkinson?
No, not Hawkinson. I'm out on the
really?
Vikings almost entirely. I'm out on the Vikings. I don't trust JJ McCarthy as far as I can throw him.
So how about Andrews versus Ingram?
I'd go Ingram.
I'd also go Ingram. I think Ingram's
I've been patting the table for Ingram because that was the Broncos' priority this offseason was to go get him. That is the only free agent move they made, really. Like on that side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, they said, we want Evan Ingram.
RJ Harvey draft pick, right? That's the only other thing that comes close.
Like they drafted Harvey, but they said in terms of free agency, we're gonna go get Evan Ingram. And he got hurt last year, but he is a reception machine. In this format, I think that's really valuable. I would go Ingram over.
And
go ahead.
Sorry, Steve, but Jamie, if you're upset about not getting Sutton, the hedge is get Ingram instead, because I think there's just as good a chance that Ingram leads the team in targets as Sutton.
That was literally about to be my point. We are in lockstep.
Yeah, I think
I love that.
I think both will be close enough in targets that it doesn't matter who's first and second. Like I think it'll look like Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup before CeeDee Lamb. Right? I mean, I know it's totally different quarterback, totally different offense, but that's like the first thing that came to mind. Like two guys that are going to be super close in targets. And it's not really clear who the number one is through the whole season. Like game per game, it might change. But if you couldn't get Sutton and you end up in this format with the tight end, which almost might be better because of the premium, I think you'd almost rather have Ingram over Sutton just based on that. Again, that 1 point per reception premium, 3.5 for tight ends versus 2.5 for receivers. So Ingram, Ridley, and I don't know, come up with one other player as a backup just in case.
It would probably be between Andrews and Njoku, honestly, at this point.
I like Njoku as well. I think I have Ingram, Njoku, and Hawkins all pretty close.
I hate the Browns' offense. The Browns suck, man. They were the lowest scoring last year. They only had like 15 points a game. They're bringing in a dusty old quarterback. Andrews.
I feel like they should have just re-signed Jameis. Like, I think we deserve that. It's a full season of Jameis just slinging it.
I wanted Jameis Winston. That would have been awesome.
But it would be bad anyway.
If you look at Andrews, he ended up as a top 8 tight end all year. But
because he had a career high in touchdowns.
Well, if you look at his first 5 or 6 weeks, they were trash. People were out. But
there were games, I think 2 or 3 games in that stretch, he had 0 catches. So like half the time in that stretch, he wasn't even scoring points. So.
People don't understand. 2 weeks before the season, he got hit by a car and he was playing injured. When he was fully healthy after week 6, if you just take week 6 through the end of the year, he was a top 5 tight end. So he's the number 1, number 2 in that offense, and that's what you want with tight ends. You want those number 1 or 2 targets. Like Mason Taylor is going to be a number 2 target on the Jets, and you can get him in round 11 or 12. But Andrews is going to be a stud. I think he's going to make a comeback. And he's not even 30 yet, is he?
I think he might be 30 or 29. He's getting there.
Yeah.
But the whole idea of it, elevated touchdown season. But if you look at all active quarterbacks, I'm pretty sure Lamar Jackson has the highest touchdown rate. It's like 6.2%. So it's the quarterback that you could kind of, especially Andrews seems to be able to just rely getting 7 to 10 touchdowns almost every year. I think last year he got 11, so broke that.
And you got to remember, in this format, if you get a touchdown that's over 10 yards, you also get that first down point.
I think anytime you get a touchdown, you get the first down.
Are you sure about that? Because I thought if it was,
I'm pretty sure every touchdown it counts as a first down.
Oh, that's awesome. Because I looked it up and Chat GPT told me it was only 10 plus yards.
No, I'm pretty sure.
Get better.
What I've looked up in first down scoring leagues I've had before, and I'm pretty sure every touchdown is a first down because you are like it's not a new set of downs, but you are gaining the act of gaining the first down by getting the required.
So
distance.
There you go, Roshan Johnson, 100%
goal line guy.
There's so many more.
Oh, and we've come full circle. How wonderful.
But I guess interesting to see, like, just compare, Steve. You mentioned you took Brower's 105. You said.
I did.
And you see in Jamie's draft, he went 112, and McBride went ahead of him. You had several quarterbacks. I mean, to have Barkley go 107 was interesting. Jamie, was there a reason you chose 107?
Yes, I've had 107 the past 3 years. I was born on the 7th.
Okay.
It's just one of my lucky numbers, and the main reason I like it with the third round reversal is because I'm not affected by the third round reversal as much. The first year,
no matter what. So
yeah, the first year I picked 5. I had a great year that year. I was in the top 100 almost every single week up until when Lamar Jackson got hurt. So I decided to switch to 7, and I kept that number ever since. And I don't have to reach on players. I just let the board fall to me. Like if you're at the very end, I feel like you're more inclined to kind of reach on someone that you normally wouldn't, as opposed to just being in the middle and letting the board fall to you and take value.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I was just gonna say it's interesting that Barkley 107 is probably one of the later spots you go. So for you to get Barkley here at 107.
Well, someone told me he got him in the late first, which was crazy.
Yeah, we can check this. I could check the Scott Fishbowl later.
I'm pretty sure it was my co-host Mike Hicks, also from Going for Two.
Oh,
I believe he had a late third, and I think he took him.
Okay, well, it's interesting because now I'm going to go over to my Scott Fishbowl draft and show that we had almost the same start. Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor at the.
I love that.
At the one, but I'm doing it at the 102, so I went Barkley right away from the start. But again, interesting. Bowers here 106, so close to where it went with Steve's draft. But yeah, I've gone the robust RB even further. Barkley, Taylor, Walker, James Conner, and Aaron Jones. So I've got 5 running backs through 6 rounds.
And I have 0
with Kyler Murray. And it's funny how like we could both end up in the final week, Steve. Like you might end up seeing when you get to the end, a lot of different roster construction still can have success. It's all just about within that roster build. Can you pick the right players or not? Is going to be huge. I mean, there's waivers because this isn't best ball. You're still setting lineups, so there are naturally waivers like a normal redraft league. So, being the variance of who you choose to start, who you're choosing to pick up, and how teams change.
So I noticed on your draft, you were debating between Walker and Hubbard. And it's funny how Hubbard fell so far.
Yeah, Walker at 311 and then Hubbard here at 409. Yeah.
And in my draft, I was sniped by my other host, Steve Hungarter, at the 106.
I noticed you two are right next to each other.
In the 4th round, I was going to take Walker, and then I ended up going Hubbard. So how close do you have, Steve? How close would you be debating Walker and Hubbard?
Oh boy. Closely, but I think both are being a bit overvalued right now, I think. I'm not huge on Chuba Hubbard. And Kenneth Walker, I think if he stays healthy is far and away the better player. Hubbard is just not a good pass catcher. And in every metric, he grades at the bottom in terms of his PPR ability, like his reception ability. So that scares me off of him in a league where receptions are kind of so important. Yeah, I think I'd go Walker pretty easily
Yeah.
in this situation. But there's certainly I still think James Cook is a better pick than Kenneth Walker. I still think even Joe Mixon could be a better pick than Kenneth Walker. Certainly all the guys that went before him are better picks than Kenneth Walker.
So the only player I see,
Maybe
I would,
outside of a Marion Hampton.
Lad McConkey, because he's going to get all those PPR points, the first downs, the short passes,
Right.
the
Yeah.
receptions.
That is very late for him. Yeah, that's late. That's surprising.
I mean, I could have taken him, right? I could have taken Tyreek Hill.
I might take McConkey over Walker, honestly.
Yeah, McConkey, I'm a little AJ Brown going that late is a little surprising too, but that's because he doesn't get a ton of volume. And McConkey is a victim of the Harbaugh system. He's just not a big air it out kind of guy. I mean, it's like a 20 to 25 attempts per game kind of offense. So I could see why people are fading Lad and not betting on elite. What is the word I'm looking for? Efficiency out of Lad McConkey.
Yeah, he kind of maxed out. He wasn't a huge target year. I mean, he had over I think 110 targets, but not for where his finish was. Surrounded by guys who had more targets than him.
Yeah, I think Lad.
Top end.
I think Lad's going to disappoint some people this year, and it's not going to be his fault. It's going to be a product of the system.
So Kyle, let me ask you this: once you have your first 11 picks, are you going to kind of play it safe and go after your handcuffs? Let's say, I think I've seen Mason go around.
I think Jordan Mason's going to go so early that I'm not really going to try and handcuff him.
Well, I've seen him go in the 11th, like the 10th, 11th round. So you might.
What about
be able
Trey
to.
Benson, the true number one in Arizona?
You can get Benson in maybe round 12 or 13, and then also Shipley. I don't remember where he's going, but I've been grabbing him in mock drafts.
True. Yeah, I mean, could get Khalil Herbert with Jonathan Taylor. I guess the problem is I'm probably going to continue to hammer running back to the point where it's going to be tough to handcuff all of them. So I don't know.
But if you had the opportunity to, you have elite guys right now that's going to give you production. But if they get hurt, you have three people that can easily be slid in and get that same type of production.
Yeah, so I guess it'll have to be making the bets on who's going to be those backups. I think back to Roschon Johnson, I don't really believe much in Kyle Monunga, and the Bears took him so late that that's a situation where I view Roschon pretty easily as the backup, but there's going to be other backfields where maybe I don't quite see it so easily. So that'll be trying to distinguish that because I'm not that big a believer in Trey Benson. I know within my touchdown projections that I've been doing. Amari DiMarcado is basically comes out with the same touchdown totals as Benson. I'm not sure Benson's even the main backup to Connor, that it's not DiMarcado again like last year.
It has to be Benson, man.
Jonathan Gannon did come out and say Benson's the 1A to Connor's 1.
Yeah.
He essentially called.
I mean, it should have been the case last year. Why wasn't
I think we overestimate how fast rookies should start. I think
especially at running back, we think it just
it's just instant, and it once you're not a first round pick, it hardly ever is that way. But Benson averaged almost 5 yards a carry. He is a Florida State guy, so I have a bit of a homer take on him. But he's a big physical runner. He's super fast. He's built for that workload, and I think with James Conner getting older, they were able to give him time to learn, develop, and I think that's going to pay off. I have comped him to Le'Veon Bell. I think that's his ceiling. That would be a very amazing development, but that's who he reminds me of in his running style. So I would happily take the shot on Trey Benson, and I'm going to quite a bit this year.
Yeah, I agree with the Trey Benson take.
I think ultimately what I'm going to look towards is, are there still starting tight ends available with that 3.5 points per reception? I think at a certain point, the cheap guys that everyone's ignoring, I'll probably try and I'll be the benefit of that, of people fading the not elite tight ends. But once we get past the starters, then yeah, I'm probably looking to handcuff running backs. So like I said, I think a guy like Mason, I'm probably not going to handcuff just because he's going to go so early.
Yeah, I'll go too early.
Benson, because of the lack of success last year, he probably does go late enough that I would consider him for that. Like Charbonnet's another one too. It's kind of like Mason, where they're almost backup plus. They're backup with standalone roles, so people are going to draft them so high. So I'm like Jamie said, like Will Shipley / AJ Dillon or Khalil Herbert or whoever DJ Giddens in the Colts, like picking those spots, you'll be able to get at least one of those guys so cheap. So those will be the really cheap handcuffs that I'll consider.
I agree. I think that's a good way to do it.
All right, so we've talked Scott Fishbowl. That only leaves one topic, and apparently it's the topic that Jamie leaves for. But that's okay because he's not involved in this necessarily, not even involved in this league, unlike the two of us. But Steve, we're going to talk trade of the week. So our first guest appearance, and so happens that the guest is not only involved in this league, but involved in this trade. So this is another reality sports online league. Steve mentioned earlier he loves the format, his favorite format.
Love it. It is.
We've done, I think, 3 episodes on this in the past month or month and a half. So for those listening for the last couple of months, you'll be well accustomed to the format. So I'm saying salary cap contract league. Rookie contracts will be typically a lot cheaper than the player salaries. So it's a 12 team start 10 league, Superflex, PPR. So fairly conventional from that sense, but the salary cap contract component gives it its complexity. Yeah. So on one side, we've got CeeDee Lamb. On the other side, CJ Stroud in a 26 second. So Jamie, I could share the contract information for those players if you want, but I'll let Steve kind of set up the context as well.
Yeah, so I traded away CeeDee Lamb in this scenario, and it was a salary cap move. It is a super flex league, so having that second quarterback is key because I do have Jaden Daniels on a long-term deal. I do think CJ Stroud's going to have a big bounce back season this year. So I thought it was a bit more value just in terms of position versus position. And CeeDee Lamb is making more money. So I had to cut salary. I had to get ready for free agency. I was losing Baker Mayfield, who was I got him for so cheap last year. And I had him on a 1-year deal. And I couldn't franchise tag him because I didn't have the cap space. So I needed to replace a quarterback. And I figured this was the best way to do it. I utilized CeeDee Lamb. The second round pick is a great piece to add in this format. It works a little differently than Dynasty because of the salary cap implications. You need to be able to fill out that roster. So I actually really like how this worked out for me.
Always said with the rookie picks, even if you miss on the rookie, them being on your team for a cheaper contract, you still get value from it. So it also, I find with the rookie picks in RSO, there's less pressure to have to get it right. You'd love to, man. I mean, it's a great feeling when you get a cheap rookie that produces for 3 or 4 years at barely any salary, and they're winning weeks for you. Like, that's amazing. But the opposite of when you miss on a player, it's not so detrimental because you're still gaining the value of, it's a cheap contract.
Right. And picks in this league, like second round picks, are a lot more valuable than normal Dynasty because of that exact thing. Is when people need to dump salary, you can get Derrick Henry for a second. You know what I mean? If you have the cap space, you can burn a second round pick and get an elite running back for a season and make a run at a championship, which is what I did last year, right? Last year, I burned a lot of my picks this year because I was undefeated through week 9. Like it was, I was making a run at it, and it didn't work out, and I went all in. I pushed all my chips in on that team, and now I have to, tear it down a little bit because the salaries are ridiculous, and that's the fun part of this thing is if you go all in, you'll pay that price eventually. But I got some money out of it, and I'm pretty happy. Didn't win the chip though, so that hurt.
Yeah, so it's Lamb is this year about just over $4 million more per year for salary than CJ Stroud. But the advantage of the Stroud contract is you still have 3 years left. It was a 4-year contract in last year's startup. So Lamb's contract expires after the 2026 season. So that's when you either need to extend or franchise tag and use that at that point, whereas you get that extra year of Stroud as well. So
yeah,
not only do you get the extra years on the rookie deal from the second, but just Stroud versus Lamb right now is currently on more years on his contract.
So if I'm looking at this trade, and I know the salary cap factors a lot into it, but I'm going to take the salary caps out of it, right? And if you have CJ Stroud in a second, and I assume you're kind of rebuilding,
Retooling, but yes.
retooling, yes. So like a retool, and for CeeDee Lamb, let's say CeeDee Lamb's wide receiver 3 in your dynasty rankings, and CJ Stroud is, let's say, 10 through 12. So in that top
Mhm.
12. Getting that second on top of CJ Stroud is almost exactly even value, just taking the contracts out of it. So I like this trade for you because you got to remember CJ Stroud, they're building around him. They added multiple receivers. They drafted 2. They brought in another slot guy in Christian Kirk, and they still have Nico Collins. They upgraded that offensive line. So you got to remember last year at this time, on Keep Trade Cut, CJ Stroud was the number 1 quarterback in Dynasty. So if you made this trade last year, people are like, how did you get a second on top of CJ Stroud? Just
I'll
giving
tell
up
you,
Lamb.
I couldn't give Lamb away in this league. Kyle can vouch for this. I was sending trades to everybody. I was putting it in the group chat. I'm like, somebody come and trade for CeeDee Lamb, and I could not get a buyer. So all of a sudden, this trade landed on my doorstep, and I was like, you know what? This is it. This is the move. So long-term deal for Stroud. Give me that second. Give me $4 million in cap flexibility. I mean, I almost cut him. That's where I was at. I was about to cut CeeDee Lamb.
Wow, that's crazy. But yeah,
With the knowledge that, well, if I'm cutting him, I can always win him back in the auction. So by cutting him, it doesn't mean, waiver bid. Like, no, you have a chance to win him back. You think, okay, can I win him back cheaper? But this was the best way to extract value from him.
But from a value standpoint, I think this is an exact even trade. Like what I like to do is that if I do the 2-for-1s and I'm giving up the 1 to get 2 back, I kind of like to do like a 15% value increase on my side, but it's not necessary. You don't have to, but this is a straight even value trade in my eyes. So good job, especially with the contracts that you guys are messing around with. It sounds like it's way in your favor.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that was just kind of my thought process. I'm like, you know what? Maybe it feels like it worked for both sides, but it gave me more flexibility with how I have to build my team from here on out. So this is gonna be this will help, because sometimes with a bad contract, like I have guys that I'm trying to trade now, I could attach that second round pick to entice someone to take them off my hands.
You're taking an expensive contract, but you're getting a rookie pick that's going to equate to be a
cheap, and
piece
it's kind of
absorb.
It's like the NBA mentality. You know what I mean? Like the NBA, you see it all the time. Like a really expensive player who's better than the player that gets traded, but like you'll see like Jrue Holiday goes to this didn't happen, but it could like Jrue Holiday and a second goes to Portland for like some player that stinks, but it's because it's like, hey, listen, we need compensation for taking that contract on, and it's like, all right, here you go.
The other team does it because the cap space is so valuable. They're going to go use it to sign a free agent. To your point, free agency coming up, even just that little bit of extra savings, it's a step in the right direction. Multiple moves to get you that there. But I know from someone who's in the league, who saw this trade go through, and to Steve's point, like I was sending out offers for CeeDee Lamb as well. And I saw this go through, and my first thought was, I could see why Steve accepted, because I wasn't offering this. Like it was maybe a first I was offering, but like with Michael Pittman or other receivers, like I wasn't offering Josh Allen, for instance. And outside of Josh Allen, my other quarterback is Jared Goff. You're probably not taking Jared Goff.
Because Goff was on an expensive deal too, and I was asking for 2 firsts. Like initially, that's what I was kind of aiming at. And
2 cheap contracts that aren't going to. Even future perks, they're not taking up salary cap this year.
Right. I just wanted to unload that salary cap, and I was like, someone will do it, surely. Nope. So it shows how valuable picks are and how valuable cap space is.
Yeah, and the super flex, so the values do belong with quarterbacks quite a bit. So when I saw that go through, I thought, okay, that's good for Sig. That's how you sell high on CeeDee Lamb, even if with the big contract, if you found a
Yeah.
way to make it work and get a quarterback that you get an extra year on, and you get the draft pick. So I like that trade for you, Steve.
And
Again,
I'm
when I
not done
saw that
making
through,
moves.
I thought I could see why he rejected my offers for Lamb. If this was available to him, like I could see why I wasn't able to get it done.
Yeah, Pittman was a real issue, was a real sticking point in our negotiations
Yeah.
because he's so expensive right now that I was like, no, that's not doing what I needed to do.
Not quite to Lamb's contract, but you wanted to say
Not quite, but it was yeah. There was a few
20
things I was like,
million.
yeah,
Like, it's maybe probably about half what Lamb makes, but still quality of
Yeah.
player. You definitely getting a good quality player in Stroud.
yeah. So it was it's fun.
This was a great quality episode, Steve. I got to say, thank you for
Thank you.
sharing so much about Rainbow Bowl and sharing so much of your time.
Thank you. Yeah, it was so much fun. I had a blast being here. Truly.
I saw this comment come through, and yeah, bam! I was been with us the last couple episodes coming in the chats. It's got to be awful feeling like you can't be your true self, and what you're doing with the Rainbow Bowl, what the Trevor Project does, certainly helps a lot of people in that.
Yeah. No one deserves to not be themselves, and to discriminate based on love, to tell people they can't fall in love, they shouldn't fall in love, is just what an evil thing to say to someone. So, like, I can't think of anything more wicked than that, right? Like, it's love. So who are we to stand in the way? And everyone deserves to be themselves. Every kid deserves to know that they're necessary and they belong here.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's important to let everyone know that they are important, that they do matter for who
Yeah.
they are. So yes, so thank you, Steve. This, topics really do matter. Charity leagues important, and yeah, we all love fantasy football, so our love for that will never be questioned, and nor should it be. And that same love that humans have for each other should also be
Absolutely.
that same way, not questioned and respected.
Absolutely.
So I just want to say, this has been a great episode. Steve, you're awesome. I hope we can do this again. But
Absolutely.
I just want to say, like, the real winner isn't who takes home the title. It's what we're actually playing for. Like,
Yeah.
every dollar raised, every spot filled, every bit of, like, you can just talk smack, like, all that is fueling something bigger than just this game that we play. So
Absolutely.
like, whether it's supporting breast cancer survivors, fighting prostate cancer, or empowering the next generation of women or the LGBTQ community, let's raise up. Let's get these leagues filled, and let's just prove that fantasy football can actually do some real good in this community. So I just want to thank everyone. Like, thank you for showing
Absolutely.
up. Thank you for giving back, and just for being part of something that actually truly matters. So we'll see you next time, man. This has been great.
Yeah. Thank you again for having me, guys.
And you can follow Steve on Twitter at Steve_Lawson93, and that's where in his bio you can get the link to sign up for Rainbow Bowl. So I really appreciate you sharing your time with us, Steve.
Yeah. Thank you guys again. It's been a blast.
Yeah, that's great. Glad to hear. Glad our first guest experience went well for everyone involved.
It did. It was very fun.
People in the chat seem to be commenting a lot, so thank you for that. Again, subscribe to us at the Fantasy Six Pack YouTube channel. We've got the Fantasy Six Pack website and Discord. There's also a lot of it is free, but there is the all access membership that gets you stuff behind the paywall. So right now there's a promo on the all access membership. F6P Pods, F6P PODS, all letters capitalized, and it's the number 6, the Arabic numeral. Don't try and VI it with your Roman numerals. But there's also the Fantasy Six Pack Association with Fantrax. You can go to fantrax.com/fantasy six pack to find out more details about that. Fantrax is a great place to draft. I think the Canada Cup a couple years when we did have that, I believe we held that on Fantrax. So appreciate Fantrax for that. There was another old, I guess we don't do it anymore, but charity league with the Canada Cup, also raising money there. But yes, appreciate Steve. Appreciate my co-host Jamie, our other co-host Rahul, who couldn't be here. Expected back next week. Rahul's at Small Talk FF. Jamie's at Jamie Perog. And I'm at Kyle Senra. Thank you once again, Steve, and all the listeners and viewers for watching yet another episode of the Dynasty Six Pack. See you all next week.
The mo you know.
Thank you, Jamie.